Hey guys, Boy here, and this is 4 things pro players do that you can start doing right now. The first thing I want to talk about is trading, and this might be the hardest one to fully translate to you. Trading can be both very simple and infinitely complex because learning how to trade, when to trade is dependent on every situation, matchup, and game. But there are obviously guidelines we can talk about, and we will use this Arteezy Void replay first. Trading is understanding that everything in Dota is an exchange. When we're talking safe lane specifically, you have the carry that wants to farm primarily, but that would love to kill and stop the offlaner from farming as well. His support that wants to help him with that, and against him, you have the offlaner that kind of wants the same thing as the carry, and his support alongside. The difference is usually that the support in the offlane has the good advantage in items to help you score, because he is usually position 4. On one side, you have Void and Disruptor, and on the other, you have Centaur plus Grimstroke. The offlane is quite powerful here, especially at level 2, where Silence plus Inkswell can easily take down the Void if he doesn't take care. But before level 2, there is a bunch of other things we have to talk about. The lane starts with a small but important decision from the Centaur. While Arteezy draws aggro since he wants to deny his range creep and kill the other range creep so that he is level 2 before the offlaners, the Centaur doesn't do that. Why wouldn't he trade his range creep for Archers, you may ask? As an offlaner, you care about experience, yes, but you're also in an inherent disadvantage that comes from where the creeps are meeting. If the Centaur doesn't draw aggro, not only he can contest the range creep that Arteezy wants to deny, he also puts Arteezy on a timer. If the lane pushes towards the Dire, it will push harder towards Radiant afterwards, and that's awesome for him. Arteezy really wants the enemy range creep though. It's the most important creep in every wave, and the trade for that is taking creep damage and Grimstroke attacking him. Note how helpless Arteezy is, but that's what he wants. He wants to trade as little HP regen items for CS as possible while, doing some damage if he can. Note that as he waits for the creep to die, he hits both the Grimstroke and the Centaur once. His creep is not in CS range yet, and you don't want to be aimlessly taking damage for free, so he makes sure that he never takes damage without dealing damage or getting a CS, and he backs after getting it. If you pay attention to the Disruptor, as soon as the range creep dies, he goes around to harass the Grimstroke. That's the deal Grimstroke made when he decided to attack Arthur. He's opening up to be hit, and note that by going around, Disruptor doesn't draw aggro, so he takes no damage from creeps, and he also doesn't let the creeps take tower damage, thus pushing the lane. 20 seconds of Dota, a lot of things going on, but what's the takeaway from this? The takeaway is that you should never let someone do something without getting something yourself in return. I guess the most simple form I can tell you is that as a carry, you shouldn't take harass if you're not getting a CS or, killing someone and doing more damage to them, or that as a support, your carry shouldn't take damage from 2 heroes while you don't do damage to either of them. In this other Arteezy game, you have an equally hard lane, maybe even harder than the previous one. And why would Arteezy draw aggro like this towards the tower if he didn't do it against a similarly hard matchup than last time? Differently than Void with Time Walk, Slark trades awfully well against those 2 heroes. Phoenix with W and Purification are super strong here. After learning Essence Shift at level 1, the only play Arteezy has is right-clicking to trade, but that's impossible against Phoenix, or it's just a very bad trade for Arteezy if he goes for it. Remember what we discussed, you want to trade HP regen for CS. If he tries to CS normally, he will be easily targeted by the Fire Spirits. Take damage and not get the CS probably because of the attack speed is low. The end result is still very, very bad. He was not allowed to get his Quellan Blade after the runes, meaning drawing aggro only prevents the Omni from denying the creeps and the Phoenix from fully harassing Arteezy, but he's still not getting CS, and that's still the best rate he can go for. Unlike last game where Arteezy had leverage to tank right clicks from a Grimstroke at level 1, the harass here is super different and way harder to deal with. As you can see, we talked about maybe 40 seconds of Dota, and this segment might reach 4 minutes of discussion. And Dota is hard, but hopefully the decision making here can aid you to make better decisions in your games as offlaner, as support, and as carry. And now we're going to talk about using Fog. This one is less complicated than the first one, so hopefully if you're still watching, we can learn a couple of things. Pro players understand and respect Fog way more than your usual scrub. Fog can be used in many ways. For instance, watch this play. KP is playing Ogre, pressuring the Naga, and when the support silencer tries to defend her, he gets taken out by the Skyref. The real play comes now and from the Naga. Naga tries to punish the Sky, fails to do so. And while all of this is happening, you should know that Naga has mirror image ready. I can see a Naga that is panicking using the spell as soon as KP uses, because that dispels the damage in the slow and she might be able to live a little longer. But what she does is bait Dire in while using Fog. As the Naga reaches that spot, he can now use Dire's eagerness against them, not only dispelling the ignite but killing Sky in the process. Very simple concept that can be used in many ways. In this Arteezy replay, we see a very similar use of Fog. By the way, before we get there, note that DP is dying here before any Dire hero can help, and yet they do take this fight. The good advantage is minimal, Pangolier is very far away, and yet they take this fight and they win it. Some people think that the reason some players are really good at Dota is reflexes, and reflexes are definitely important in Dota, but Dota is all about filtering as much input you can to then output the best play you can think of. If Arteezy in this fight runs aimlessly with his Ogre towards the Leshrac, what would have happened is, Radiant's brain would say, okay, no Grimstroke out, no Wind Ranger out, we already got a kill, and there is a Bloodlusted double damage Arteezy with Radiance coming in. Let's get back, boys. Yet because they have the vision advantage on the Dire side, and because Arthur doesn't show, Radiant's brain is like, okay, one hero is dead, this is a weak Ogre, go kill. They commit to a fight they cannot win, and they lose 3 heroes in the end. Supports also deal and have to understand Fog to play Dota. If we go back to that Arteezy Void game, you can see Mason and the boys diving Ryoya really hard, but if you pay attention, they are diving Fog with absolutely no fear. And what happened, with respecting Fog? Well, there are 2 heroes dead, so they basically are banking on numbers here. And it's also the subject of the next thing pros do, but before we get there, watch the Disruptor play. I think this is D.Bowie. He realizes that fighting like this is, bad or at least a little risky, so he drops a ward as he joins the fight, but note how he positions himself. First, since he planted a ward, he can see where the creeps are, and he waits for them to go away so that his presence is unknown, and even though he's low on mana and doesn't have Static Storm, he can join this hectic fight, set up 2 kills, and give insight of subsequent TPs coming in, allowing his team to disengage safely. The third thing we have to talk about is fighting even when it feels like you cannot help anyone anymore. This concept is easy to see but harder to execute than you think if you're not used to this. Let's use that Disruptor fight as an example. He wards, he helps everyone, he gets kills, he's a god. Time to TP back to base and heal, right boys? We already did what he had to do. After all, he doesn't even have that much mana. He is out of mana, yes, but did you notice that since he used the Fog well there, he suddenly has 6 1 charges? If another fight breaks out or continues, he can get into a point where he has enough mana to be of use. We are mainly focusing on the use of wand and stick, but also the concept of fighting alongside your team and disengaging with them instead of thinking as an individual only, especially when you're a support. If we check this game, for instance, there are 8 heroes with sticks and wands, and only 2 heroes without it, and as a general rule, I think this is a low ballpark on how many you should expect to see in a high MMR game. And that's because they use those items to its full potential. This item is not only great because it gives you 300 HP and mana one time, it is great because it can increase the longevity of your fights and your power spikes, and also surprise enemies. We can use that same Disruptor replay again. Because of those 1 charges, Disruptor can lock Slark in place, he can glimpse the Lion back, and disengage with his team while they actually took a tower and killed a lot of heroes. Can you imagine what would happen if he's not there to dissuade the Slark and to take away the follow-up of Lion with that glimpse? And finally, the fourth one. We can tie the third concept with this one actually. Generally, after killing someone, high MMR players are way more willing to fight more, and that's another reason why you shouldn't disengage or think you can't be of any aid. You can be out of mana, but with more heroes dead, you actually need less to win fights, right? So even if you can only use 1 spell, you shouldn't just disengage randomly. I'm going to show this KP Ogre replay first, and then we can go back to the Archer game afterwards. This game was chill for a while until they bursted down the Wraith King without out here. For a while, KP was just dealing with the Wraith King's skeleton, so the Wraith King doesn't farm while he's dead, but eventually, his Lark engaged mid, and he changes targets instantly. The easiest way to snowball any game is to fight with an advantage, and when you kill someone, that advantage is already there. This game in particular is special because no one on Dire has huge cooldowns, so they can constantly fight. But that's the idea, understanding that and using it to its full potential. In fact, look at the entirety of Dire. KP had drawn a line bottom to take the tier 2 tower, but the entirety of Dire suddenly collapses mid. They take Rubik, and this is just a great spot to be. They kill everyone. Lanes are pushed, and they will keep trying to use this advantage until it's not an advantage anymore. Eventually, Sky TP stopped to slow down the push, and with another Radiant hero respawning, Dire understands, this is a 4 versus 4 effectively, and they can get back. In that Ultra High MR NA game we just saw, there's something quite similar to this. Void has Aegis, and they kill the Centaur mid. As that happens, the Slark tries to kill the Disruptor, fails to do so, and right at this stage, this is when you're the most eager to kill anyone, because not only Aegis means high ground, they also have a 2-hero advantage. Nature's Prophet instantly TPs, and he not only survives because of his wand, but he eventually was the one that set up the kill on the Gyro by making him feel like he could get that kill and live. Guys, thank you very much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I know that, some concepts here are kind of simple, other concepts are kind of complicated, and, it's hard to really go in depth into one concept when you're making a video like this with, a lot of different things. And I also can understand people that are disappointed with a concept being, not explained enough. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best, and I'm eager to see what you guys think of the video and to receive feedback. I know this is a meme now, but Invoker Week is coming. We are finally set on a date, and if Friday is not Invoker Week, or at least if you don't get an Invoker video on Friday, I will play 10 games of techies on my stream. Speaking of stream, check me on Twitch. I usually go online 30 to 60 minutes after I upload a video, so, maybe ring that bell so you know when I'm online, or just follow me on Twitch if you use that platform. But today, because of my internet going down, that might change. That being said, follow me there so you know exactly when I'm online. On top of that, check my Patreon rewards if you want to help out with the channel. And follow me on social media to stay on top of what I'm doing. So be safe out there, guys, and bye.